Hello guys, welcome back. In this video, before I start, I want to give you a quick demo what you're going to achieve by end of this video. So let's get it started. As you can see, this is the very it's a very short app, very with very few pages about us, settings, reports, login and logout. So first of all, it lets you create a new account. So as soon as the user puts something here, if the user already exists, it will come back with the error, or if there is some other error, it will come back with the error. Otherwise, it's going to create a new account for the user. And once the user is creates a new account with user ID and password, login page will allow user to create the new login here. And let's go back and let me quickly show you the application side of it. So let's go to the storage part. And as you can see, local storage. So as you can see, there is nothing in there, but as soon as the user is logged in, it will it will go back and it will issue a token. It will get the JWT token from the server and is going to store that token into your local storage. Right now it's a fake token, but once we start coding this one and once we set up our real server, you will see it will come back the real JWT token. Next step is, so as soon as user is authenticated, user is inside the app, it will take the user to go to the about us page, where it will say, ask user, okay, this app is capturing your geolocation. Do you want to allow this app to capture your geolocation or deny that? If the user deny that, it will throw them back to the settings page. Now again, as you can see, settings page is the page where user can update their name, email, password, question, answer, etc., those kind of a thing. So let's go back to the settings page again, one more dashboard page again here. And as you can see, so if the user clicks on the agree, so what you will see, this app will start capturing the user's geolocation. So look at the right hand side, as you can see, it's capturing the latitude and longitude of the user's location. So basically, that's all this app is doing. It's a very small app. Hopefully, you will like the code what you're going to work in this one. Again, as I said, I'm going to use Angular 7, and on the server side, I'm going to use Node.js with MySQL, which is the I prefer MySQL because it's a free database and a lot of it's very handy database. So let's get started. So now we are going to set up our Angular environment on my machine. This time I'm using the Linux machine. So let's go set up all the requirements. First thing is I am going to install the VS Code editor. Again, it's your choice. You can use Sublime, Atom, or any other visual editor for your choice. I'm just going to use Visual Studio Code. As you can see, I already have a Visual Studio Code, so I'm not going to install it, but you can just download it from this website. Next thing is I have to install the Node.js. So let's head out to nodejs.org. Okay, Node.js, nodejs.org. And then you can get any of those two versions, like long-term support or the most current version. Either of these will work fine. What I'm going to do here, I'm just going to save the binary here to my local drive here. As you can see, I downloaded the V11 here. All you need to do, extract the zip folder. Again, you can do the quick install, just go double click on the installer, say install. But there's an alternate method. If you don't want to do install, or if you're behind a firewall, just download that thing. And all you need to do, just include that path. Like here on the Linux machine, you have to export that path to your node machine. That's all you need to do. Otherwise, if you're on a Windows machine, you have to just include that in your Windows path. Next thing is you check the node version, node-v, and the npm version. Npm comes pre-installed with node. But it's a good idea to confirm that. Next thing is you need to install the Angular CLI. So let's go to angular.io and get started. As you can see, I'm going to use the version 7.0.1. That's the latest version. And you can see it's asking you have to have minimum node version 8, and which I already have. So here, all you need to do here is npm install -g Angular CLI, and that will take care of that thing. Perfect. Okay, next thing is there's something called Angular Console. Angular Console is, I highly recommend, if you do not like typing all the commands. Angular Console is it's a more visual of the Angular CLI. Again, I highly recommend that, but it's totally up to you, totally optional. Okay. Next thing is like, I'm going to create, let's see, just let me just go to the new documents here. Okay, while we are doing the installation of Angular CLI. Okay, I am just going to create a blank new directory here, app, and I'm going to put everything inside that app. Perfect, my Angular CLI is done. Okay. Okay, next thing is like, because this time I'm going to use the Bootstrap. So let me just do a npm install Bootstrap. Again, it's not required, but I just want to show you quickly an example. Just take the Bootstrap. So first thing is like, you can download any Bootstrap website. Suppose you have a plain HTML website. So in this case, I'm creating a Python simple HTTP server. You can also use live server extension of Visual Code, but this part is totally optional. What I'm doing here, I'm just testing out a simple website. So for example, there is a Bootstrap website, and all you need in that website is a file called index.html. And as soon as any HTML website. So here is nothing Angular about it. All I'm doing here, I'm just copy pasting a file called index.html, and I want to test it out if my HTML file works or not. In the Linux machine, I just include I'm just testing it on the 8000. Okay, but basically this part is only optional. You don't even need to do that. So, but you need to have a design ready. So as you can see, go to the Bootstrap and pick any layout you like. So in my case, I'm just going to put like sign in or sticky footer, any layout. It doesn't even matter. So I have already created a website. I'm going to make use of that one. But basically at this point, all you need is HTML website. And I like Bootstrap because Bootstrap gives you all the functionality, everything all in one. So I just downloaded it from there. Okay. Next thing, again, let me just create another terminal window, check my node and npm version. And I just installed Angular CLI. So let's quickly check ng-v. So as you can see, my Angular CLI is also working. Next thing is, I'm just going to create a new directory app. And inside that app, I want to create a new app. Let's call this app as, GPS mobile. So let's say ng new, and I'm going to call it a GPS mobile tracker. Okay. Let's do the ng new. So in the new Angular CLI, you will see you don't need to provide any more option routing. It's going to ask you. So as you can see, it just asked me, would you like to add the Angular routing? I said yes. And then it says, what are you going to use? You are going to use CSS or CSS. I'm just going to put CSS. And as you can see, I know I just skipped that. And my ng new is just created a new Angular, brand new app in my app directory. So let me go quickly browse to that, cd into that one. All I'm going to do here an ng serve. So at this point, if I do ng serve, it should my app should be working with the vanilla delivered Angular code. Okay. Next thing is, let's go to Angular. I'm going to create a couple of new components here, like all the pages. So for example, my website is going to have a page called About Us. So let's say ng generate new component About Us. I will need. So I'm just going to go back to my GitHub repository. And as you can see, I need a couple of more components like dashboard. Okay. Okay, dashboard is done. I need, so about us dashboard. Let's go back here. I need footer. Great. I think next thing is I need a header. Okay, next thing is login reports. Okay. So next step is login. Report and settings, sign up. Settings, sign up. Perfect. Sign up is also done. So as you can see in my app.routing.module, I need to define all those routes. Okay, as you can see, everything imported to my app.module pretty good. Okay, so let's go to app.routing.module.ts. As you can see, I'm just going to copy paste all of these things because I don't want to, again, this is just a duplicate code here. So app.routing.module.ts, and I'm going to replace this with all the actual routes. Okay, perfect. It's complaining about the reports because I think I created a component called report instead of reports. Okay, perfect. I need to fix that. Here you go. Okay, save this one, about us. Okay. Okay, next step is, I think, let's go back, and as you can see, I'm just going to quickly check about us.component.html file. As you can see, all it's saying about us works. Okay, so right now my vanilla code, it has only very plain static say about us work. I'm just going to replace this with my actual website. So this is the HTML website I created. Okay, so as you can see, there's no Angular, nothing about it. It's just a plain simple HTML website. So all I'm going to do here, I'm just going to copy paste all the HTML code, and I'm replacing that HTML code with the vanilla code here. So this is not the actual, again, remember, this is not the actual Angular code here. Okay, once we will start working on the Angular components individually, then you will see that what are those actual Angular components, and I'm going to cover those in details. Here it's just a simple static HTML text I'm replacing with. Okay, let's go to header.component.html. This is only, this is, I just copied it from the Bootstrap file. So let's go back, and as you can see, it's just a, like, if you go to bootstrap.com, pick any header with the navigation bar, it just simply includes a list of all the navigation I want to include, like about us, settings, etc. Okay, that's all it is. So as you know, this is the website you can go. Okay, you can pick any Bootstrap layout, anything, whatever is whatever you feel comfortable with. Okay, now let's go work on the login. Okay, same thing with the login. Login is a very simple form. All it has a, like, three things on this one. Say email, password, and there is a sign in button. Okay, and there's a fourth, like, create. Suppose a user doesn't have a login, then it is a button for create new account. As you can see, very simple buttons, no Angular anything anywhere about it. Very simple HTML Bootstrap form. Let's go report.component.html. Okay, what else? Settings. So settings is very similar to that. Here I'm just, user can update their own settings. So for example, a new user is signed in. So it's a very simple HTML form. It has a name, email, password, question and answer, basically whatever you want to. As you can see, it's a very simple HTML form here. Okay, I just included the bare minimum fields here. Okay. Let's go to sign up. Sign up is very similarly at the sign in. Any user can log into and create a new account, and basically sign up is going to only ask for user any email and password and create a new button, create a new account. That's it. Okay, perfect. Now I think that at the very last thing, that I will need two different services here. So I'm just going to create it for now, and I will, once we start coding on this one, you will understand what those things are. The two services are ng authguard. Authguard is like actually for the router authguard. So for example, if the user is going to the dashboard or settings page and the user is not signed in, I'm going to use this authguard service to prevent that sign in. That's basically it. Another service I want to create here is backend service. So backend is service is where I'm going to write all the server side of the code. Okay, so as you can see, I created those at the parent of the directory. Where it go? Saved. Yeah, see these four files here: auth service and backend service. Okay, so what I would have done, instead of putting it at the parent level, I'm going to create a new folder and I'm going to drag and drop all those four files inside these services. Okay, let's go these things, drag it inside that services. And I think we don't need a spec file here. So I'm going to move it to trash. Great. Okay, so my services are also done. Okay, as you can see, my app is compiling pretty good. Let's go back and work on our index.html. As you can see, this is a vanilla code index.html. So index.html is, I'm just going to copy paste that bootstrap index.html. Basically, as you can see, is very simple HTML bootstrap. So all it is it has all the bootstrap min.css, styles.css, navbar. These are all the bootstrap code. So if you go to any your bootstrap template, I just borrowed that code from there. Okay. Save. So again, I'm going to include that link to my GitHub repository to this video description, and you can download that code, and you don't need to type everything. You can just code along or copy paste. Okay. So I'm just going to because I need the assets file, that means JavaScript library, the bootstrap, CSS, those kind of a thing. I'm just downloading this to my to my local drive here. Extract. Okay, so as you can see right now inside my assets directory, okay, these are the files. These are all I got it from the Bootstrap website. So all I need to do, copy this, the entire assets directory. Let's go to my app, PS Mobile Trackers, yes, sets. Okay, and I'm going to replace this whole thing here. Paste, place all. I think that's pretty much it. So okay, everything is compiling pretty good. Let's go head out to our localhost page. Okay, sorry, one thing I forgot. I need to fix my app.component.html. So I'm going to include an header and footer and the router outlet in the between. And as you can see, it's working. Okay guys, so let's get started working on this signup component.html. As you can see, it's a plain bootstrap file. There's no Angular about it. So let's put some Angular into this one. First thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to put a div. So what this div is going to show a spinner. So whenever user click on something, suppose I fill up my email ID and password and I click on create new account, it's going to show a spinner. So basically that's what this div is going to do. And it's conditional, as you can see. If the data loading equals to true, then only this div will show up. Similar to this one, I want to put another div here, which is going to show the error message. Again, it's conditional, as you can see. It's going to show error only when there is an error, and it will show the actual error message. So right now, don't worry about this, what this error is, what this error message is. Once I am going to work on this signup component.typescript file, you will see what these variables are. So far we have data loading, we have error, and we have error message. 3 different variables we have defined. Now let's put one more div here. But before I do that, I want to show you this form. As you can see, this is the signup form. Now, once the user click on this sign up form and the actual user is created, then instead of showing this form, I want to show a message that your account is created, and you can log in now. So I'm going to put another div here, which will say saved changes. That means like, your changes, new account is created, please log in, and I'll show a login button here. Okay. So again, there's another variable, save changes. It will only show when the user is actually created. So now let's wrap all of this span thing inside that, inside another ng template here. So let's put ng template. Okay. Okay, I'm going to do a Control X, put this here. That's it. Okay. Now, as you can see, this is the form. Now, there is no Angular about this form yet. So first thing I want to do here, I want to give it a name. Okay. So instead of like, typing everything, I'm just going to copy paste this thing here. So again, you can find all of this thing to my at my GitHub repository. This is the form. Okay. signup.component.html. Okay. Now, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to give it a name and I'm going to put an ng submit here. That's all I'm going to do here. So let me copy this here, okay, and paste it here. That's it. Let me fix typo. Perfect. Okay. Now, next thing you can see, there's an input type equals to this. This is again the Bootstrap thing. When you are putting an ng model here, the one of the requirement is you have to put in, you have to identify, you have to specify a name. So let me show you what that means. So instead of like, ID, I just want to add that name here, and then you have to define a hash variable. It's called temp variable equals to ng model, and you put the ng model. That's pretty much it. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to just copy this thing here, paste it here, replace this whole input statement. The only difference, as you can see, to make it Angular, you have to include the ng model, and you have to include this hash variable here, assign it to ng model here. That's it. And you have to have a name, otherwise it's not going to work. This name should exactly match with this. Okay. Same thing let's do for password. Password. Okay, as you can see, I have included a couple of the new validation here, that it has to be minimum 3 characters and maximum 20 characters, and the same thing, as you can see, I put an ng model here, defined a hash variable which equals to the name of this one. Perfect. Okay, now a couple of those things, I want to include one more div here. Now what this div does, it will show up only if there is an invalid email. That means like if input email dot invalid and input as user try to put an input email, and that means the field is dirty. He click on something and he didn't, that field is touched, but he put an invalid email, is going to show up as in saying, okay, that you have to enter a valid email. Same thing, I want to put a validation for password. Okay. Let's go here, put a validation for password. That's pretty much it. Okay. Last thing I want to do here, as you can see the sign up, I want to, so right now it's just a simple button. So I want to wrap this button, I want to disable this button if the form field is invalid. So as you can see, if the form is valid, then if the form is not valid, okay, then disable this button. Otherwise, just show the normal button. Okay, that's pretty much it. Last thing I want to do, as you can see this login button, I want to put a router link here. So what router links, I want to, instead of just putting a plain button here, I want to create a link. That's pretty much it. So let me save this file. Okay, now let's go work on our signup component.ts file. So as I was saying, like there are a couple of variables I defined, like data loading and error, those things. Let's go quickly work on those things. So this is a simple, vanilla code. First thing I want to do here, put an on destroy here, and you will see in a minute what on destroy is doing. So I'm going to include that into implements. Now, right now it's complaining because, the on destroy has not been, defined yet. So let's see ng on destroy. Perfect. Okay. Now, next thing I want to do, I want to import couple of things here. Import the router. Okay. And again, you will see what I'm going to use the router for, because the login, if you click on the login button or sign up button, that's what router is going to do. Okay, I want to call my backend service here, backend service, which is under the services folder. Again, you will see what I need that. Now next thing is, as you just saw, like, you know, inside my constructor I'm going to create two private variables here, backend service and the route. Perfect. Okay, now let's go start working on our set. Couple of, like, first thing is we have to define couple of variables here. So error, so error is a boolean, is false. Next thing is error message is a string. Data loading, and I'm going to create a private variable called query subscription, and you will see how I'm going to use that. One more variable, saved changes, which is a boolean. Okay, now next thing is on destroy. I'm going to say this query subscription. So actually, you know, this query subscription is going to be an observable. So anytime you call an observable, is you know, whenever your component is destroyed, is a good idea to unsubscribe those. Okay, you can always, you know, if you are using the async function, then you don't need to do that, but I'm not using an async function, so that's why I'm going to do that. Okay, next thing is, let's define a method called set user. So if you remember on your signup component.html, when you submit the form, there's a method called set user, and you are passing the form value to this set user. Okay, so let's go quickly do that. Okay, set user, which takes form data as an input. Okay, now inside that set user, I'm going to say, first thing, as soon as I click on this set user, I'm going to say this dot data loading equals to true. So remember that your first div we created, what's going to do is going to start showing the spinner, data loading equals to true. So as soon as I click on the button, so say create new account, it will start showing the spinner. Okay, now next thing is, I'm going to say this dot query subscription. Again, this is an observable here, and I'm going to say this dot backend service dot set user. Set user is not defined yet, so that's what it's complaining about. But don't worry about that. Let's just pretend that this function exists, and I'm going to call a subscribe on this set user. Now subscribe, it takes three different parameters. So first is the result. So once you catch the result, second is the error, if there is any error, and third one is when the subscription is finished. Okay, now let's start filling those things. Okay, now third one, as soon as the component is finished, what I want to do, I want to stop my spinner. So this is dot data loading equals to false. And now let's go work on our error. If there is an error, so first thing, this dot error equals to true. So that means as soon as the error appears, so remember, like, you know, the div we created, it says ngf equals to error. So it will show this div. So as soon as there is any error, it will show this error, and it will show the error message. So let's go. Second thing is this dot error message equals to error dot message, whatever error is coming from the server. Okay, now this dot data loading, don't forget to, you know, stop showing your spinner. Okay, now let's go work on the result part. So you will see, you know, once I create this function set user, you will see how it is doing that. Okay, now if dot res dot error code equals to 0, then let me put an else statement. So else is, like, you know, error equals to true, and then show the error message, and data loading, that means stop showing the spinner. Okay, the error equals to false. So remember, if error code equals greater than 0, so you might be asking, what is error code? Just pretend that, you know, is saying if it is greater than 0, that means there is no error. If it is 0, that means there is an error. Okay. Second thing is this dot error message equals to blank, because there is no error, and data loading equals to false. That's pretty much it. And this dot save changes equals to true. Remember, like, you know, as soon as if it is already created a user, you just need to say save changes equals to true. So if you remember, I wrapped that entire form inside this one. So it says new account is created. Don't show the form again. It's just a new account is created. Go back to the login page. That is exactly what it's doing. So I think that's pretty much it. Let me save this thing. Perfect. Now, last thing, let's go to the backend service and define this method. Now, backend service.ts, as you can see, is a vanilla. There's nothing in there. So let's start creating that function called set user. Now, set user takes a parameter called form data. Okay, inside that set user, I'm going to create a fake response. So what you will see, what fake response is, I'm going to say error code equals to 1, error message is user created, row count equals to 30, and then data equals to, put some data like say token or something like it. Okay, so this is my fake response. So basically pretend that this response is coming from server and the response is in this format. Again, once we start working on the server like MySQL and Node.js, you will understand how the data is coming. But for now, pretend that this is coming from MySQL server, and later on, we'll just replace this with the actual server code. That's pretty much it. So that's what I meant by like error code equals to 1 means user is created. If error code equals to 0, then there is a problem. Okay, now let's return this. So return observable.create is a very handy method if you want to just fake the server response for now. So observer, and then you put like set timeout, and I'm going to put a 2000 millisecond, that means 2 seconds. So basically, this function, what is going to do is actually, so as soon as user click on set user, it will create a fake response, and it's pretending that what this will it will send this result after 2 seconds. Okay, that's all it is doing. Now last thing is, because observable is not defined yet, so let's create this observable rxjs. That's pretty much it, I think. Okay, now let me create one more fake response. Let me copy paste and change this one. Here I say 0, and I'll say some error, and let me send this response equals to 1. Okay, let me fix this error. That's it. Perfect. So this time, as you can see, I'm manipulating this one. Suppose I want to show there is an error, so I'm sending this response. If there is no error, I will send this response. As simple as that. Okay, now at this point, this set user, that's all set user needs to be there. One last thing, in app.module.ts, what I have to do here, I forgot to import the forms module. So I'm using only forms module, that like template driven form from Angular, but it's a good idea to include both of these things. It's not going to make any harm, at this point. Let's import this to import array, and let's save this. Perfect. Okay, so now at this point, let's go start seeing, how our app look like. Okay, let me also open a console. So as you can see, this is my, as soon as I touch this one, I don't put a valid email, it's going to give me an error. So if I put a valid email, error stops. Right now, let's just put some password here. Okay, you saw that, like, if I put a bad password, the sign up button is disabled. As soon as I put a good password, it shows up. Now, if I create the sign up, so remember, once I click on this one, it will go to the set user function, and right now it's saying there is some error. That's what is going to get, the server is going to show you. Okay, let's click on this one. See, for 2 seconds the spinner is going to show up. Okay, and then it will say some error. Right now, this time let's send some good. Okay, so pretend that there is no error. So let's put 3. Okay, let it recompile, and this time if I click on the submit button, it will show that new user account is created. So basically that's pretty much it on this page. Let me put some password, click on this one. Spinner will show up for 2 seconds, and then it says new account is created. Beautiful. So that's all the sign up page needs to, and remember, I'm going to copy paste the entire all of this kind of functions for rest of the for rest of the pages. Okay, so let's go test out our signup.component.html. So let's put some password, sign up, don't save, after 2 seconds, and as you can see, right now I'm just getting some error. Now let's start working on our login component.html. Very similar to signup.component.html, is going to be very, very same. So first thing is, let's put the div here. Okay, div for the data loading. Second div I want to put for the error logic here. Okay, and then now let's fix our form. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to name this form as login form, and I'm going to put an ng submit here. Next thing is I have to I'm going to fix this input type equals to email. just put like a hash variable here and put an ng model. Here you go. Okay, next thing is I'm going to put a validation div for email, same thing for password. Okay, so put a validation for password, and now I'm going to take this button, I'm going to wrap it and I'm going to disable this button if the input is not valid. Okay, perfect. Now last thing is I need to now change this create new account. I'm going to put a router link, get rid of this one. That's pretty much it, I believe. Okay, let me save this. Now let's go start working on login.component.ts. Again, it's going to be very same, almost like 99% same as the signup component.ts file. So first thing is, let's go import our onDestroy. I'm going to include this onDestroy to my export class. As you can see, my class is giving me an error because ng onDestroy is not identified yet. It's not defined yet. So I'm going to work on this 1 minute. Let's go import couple of other things. Same thing like signup.component.ts. Let's import the router and let's import our backend service. I'm going to include these two, router and backend service, to my constructor. But before I do that, let me create those variables. Same variables: error message, data loading, and query subscription. Now let's go replace our constructor. Okay, now I'm going to define that new method here. As you can go back to login.component.html. This time, instead of set user, I have a method called login. So login, again, it takes the login form value and it calls that method. So let's create that method here. Okay, so very similar to that set user login form data. Again, it's like, as you can see, 99% same. The only difference is it calls a method called login, and if once it comes back, it takes that token from the server and it stored that token to local storage. So as you can see, there's the only line which is different than signup.component.html. All it is doing is taking the data from the server, and data has a token. It's a JWT token. Right now, if you don't know what that is, don't worry about that. So once you see the server side of it, then you will understand how it's receiving a token from the server and how it's going to use that token in near future. Okay, now last thing is, let's go start working on our let's fix this ng onDestroy because it's giving me an error. Okay, perfect. And I'm just going to unsubscribe to this query subscription. So this looks good. The only thing is here is login is not defined yet. That's why it's giving me that error. So let's go back to backend.service.ts file. Here, as you can see, set user, very similar to set user. I'm going to create a fake method for login method. Very similar. Login, which takes a value form data. Okay, and inside that form data, same thing, almost 99% same. As you can see, the fake response, I'm just creating a couple of fake responses, 1, 2, and it's just couple of conditions like user ID is invalid or password not valid, authentication successful. Again, once we code the server side, you will understand that I will make server response in this way, so that if suppose authentication is not successful, then what is the real error. So that's what you will get it from the server side. But for now, let's just create this as a fake API, and that's all you will need. Okay, now let me save this code. Okay, last thing while I'm here, let's go to one more file called about.component.html file. Basically, it's a static file. I'm just going to put some static code there. So again, there's nothing Angular about it. I'm just putting HTML, and it's saying about us means okay, this app captures your geolocation, blah blah blah. That's it. Thank you. And then I'm creating two buttons here. One is agree, one is deny. Suppose I'm giving an option to the user, and user says, okay, click on I want my location to be traced. So once he clicks on the agree, it goes to the dashboard. If he denies, it goes back to the setting. So that's exactly what it is doing. Okay, now let me save this. I believe there's some error. No, it looks good. Okay, so let me compile this, and hopefully it should be working. Okay, so now let's put some values to the login page. Put some password here, sign up. Sorry, it was the sign up page. I should have gone to login. So let's go to login. Put some values here. Login. Don't save. it takes you to the about us page. So as you can see, I am giving two options. One is agree, one is deny. It's a good idea to give your user options that like tracing somebody's geolocation. You should ask user that can I really trace your location or not. If it denies that, then send it back to the settings page. If it clicks on the agree, it should go to the dashboard page. So that's exactly what it's doing. So right now, if I click on this one, it goes to the dashboard page. Now let's work on our dashboard page. So dashboard.html, as you can see, it's a flat HTML right now. So I'm going to change this text, and I'm going to put like saying again, it's a static HTML, but instead of saying dashboard works, I'm going to say, okay, I'm just this app is capturing your geolocation. That's all it is doing. So let me save this thing. Now let me show you how really you can capture the somebody's geolocation. So let's go to the dashboard.component.ts file. This file is going to be a little different than other like sign up or login.html, but it's not that difficult. So let's go start working on this one. First thing first, I'm going to import that on destroy, and I'm going to include this to my export class on destroy. But right now it's complaining because the interface, I haven't defined the on destroy interface yet. I will do that in 1 minute. First thing is okay. Next thing is like let's import our backend service. And then let's include this backend service to our constructor. Okay. Now, see, there are a couple of other different ways you can capture somebody's geolocation. So in this thing, I'm going to use HTML5 geolocation feature. It's built into your browser. Most of the advanced new browsers give you that option, which you can use to capture somebody's geolocation. I'm just going to make use of that feature. So let's go. First thing is first, I'm going to create a couple of variables here: latitude, longitude. So a GPS is defined in two different variables, latitude and longitude. That's actually your GPS coordinate. And then I have data and stop condition and a private variable called query subscription. It's going to be observable. Okay. Next thing is, let's go in ng on init. I'm going to define a counter. So this is the suppose you want to capture your location every 2 seconds, then you put 2000 these are actually milliseconds. So if you want, like, you can manipulate that. If you put like 20,000, that means you are capturing every 20 seconds. This is going to refresh. So you can control that part here. It's totally up to you. Right now I'm doing it for 2 seconds. Maybe it's too much, so please change it accordingly. Okay. Next thing is, I'm going to put couple of so again, the query subscription is going to be an observable, which is going to subscribe to that second counter. Okay. So in this counter, okay, now I'm just going to call this function, this dot get location. That's it. So right now, so every 2 seconds, as soon as this component is initialized, every 2 seconds is going to call a function called this.get location. That's all it is doing. Now, what is that get location? Now, let's define that get location. So get location, as you can see, in this one, I'm going to put a variable. It's called position option. Second variable is GPS success, and third is GPS failed. These are very pretty handy method. You can, if you go to any W3 website and just Google it, how to trace HTML, how to trace users GPS location through HTML browser, you will find this method here. Not a rocket science. Okay, next thing is, I'm going to say if.navigator.geolocation. So again, navigator is your browser object. So navigator.geolocation, just navigator.geolocation dot get position, and record this position to these two variables what I've defined, latitude and longitude. That's it. Okay. And as soon as you record that, so here let's follow the path, let's follow the flow of the data. Every 2 seconds, I'm calling this function called get location. What get location is doing is tracing latitude and longitude based on the navigator's geolocation. That means your browser location, and it's capturing into this dot data. Now, I'm calling a method called backend service.set location, and I'm passing this dot data. So every 2 seconds, what I'm doing, I'm calling a method called set location, which is and passing through this GPS location. That's the hardest part you need to understand. Right now, if you don't know what the set location is, let's go create the set location. So I'm not like this one. I'm not going to create a method here. I'm just going to put a set location, and I'm just going to do a console log. So once I do the server side, you will see how I'm going to record that. But for now, I think this is good enough. I'm just going to like show my location, set location every 2 seconds. Okay. So now let's go to dashboard.component.ts, and then okay, last part, you need to have the ng on destroy. So again, like the other code, once you subscribe to that, this is an observable query subscription. You have to kill the subscription as soon as the component downloads. Now please pay attention to this one. So suppose your app is at that condition. Suppose your user goes here or goes there. It will immediately stop recording GPS location. Why? Because I'm unsubscribing here. Okay. So if you comment out this code, what is going to do? Only this code, if you comment it out, is going to stop recording that. Okay. Sorry, it will continue recording because I'm killing the subscription here. So if you want your app to continuously record the record user's GPS location, just comment this one. That means like, do not kill the subscription. So that will continuously, it will do that. Okay. Now last thing is, as you can see, my code is complaining about the interval. And so because it doesn't know what interval is. So let's go and last thing is I need to import the couple of RxJS operator, observable and interval. That's pretty much it. I think that's all. These are the two things you need. Let me save this thing. That was the hardest part in this whole app. That how to capture users geolocation. That was the hardest part. So I hope hopefully you'll get to that one, and hopefully the app will compile pretty good, and I'll show you how the codes are working here, how the GPS location is captured. Okay. So now let's click on the agree. So as soon as you click on the agree, it should go to the dashboard.file, dashboard.html. And here it should start recording your the location here. Okay. So let's go to the console log. Let's go to the dashboard.component.html, dashboard.component.ts. Okay. See, sorry, you have to enable your location here. Okay. So I blocked it here. So I have to go back and allow this. So as soon as you allow that, you will see on the right hand side, you will see the latitude and longitude, and this will refresh every 2 seconds. Okay. So that's how like it's going to capture your geolocation. Your browser captures your geolocation. Okay. Now let's go work on our rest of the pages like reports and settings. So next step is reports. Again, I'm not planning to do anything different for the reports. Report is like, if you want to just see the location. So as you can see, it's a plain HTML file. I'm going to replace this very quickly. And all I'm going to say here, like, just do a ng for, and I'm going to fetch the data from the server, and whatever location, that means latitude and longitude, I'm saving in my MySQL table is just going to show up there. So I'm just creating a for loop here. Nothing, nothing extraordinary here. So let me save this. Let's go to the report.component.ts file. So same thing like any other files. First, we have to import the onDestroy. Include that in our export class. Okay. Next step is I'm going to call out my backend service. Now let's similar to other files, let's create those variables like error message, data loading, query subscription, and my doc data, etc. Okay. Now let's include that in our constructor. Next thing is on ng on init, I'm going to call a function called this.get user location. What this function is going to do is going to go to the server and get the user's location, user's past geolocation, what we have saved into MySQL database. Let's define this method, get user location. Very similar to other methods. Nothing big. It's just like I'm calling this method on the backend service, which is going to the server and get the data. Everything else is like same as like other pages. It's complaining because this method is not defined yet. So I'll go back in 1 minute and go to my backend service and fix that. But let's just last thing, ng on destroy, and put this like unsubscribe to that query subscription. That's pretty much it. Okay. Now let's define our get user location to our backend service. So let's go to backend service. Okay, backend service. So I'm just going to say get user location, very similar to, I'm just going to create a fake API. As you can see, I'm not doing anything else, like, just creating a fake API which has the latitude and longitude, and I'm just returning that as an observable. Okay, that's pretty much it. Okay, now let's work on our settings pages. So setting pages again is going to be, it's just like, when your user sign up, user is providing their email, password, name, those kind of a thing. So setting is just a static page where user can update their own credentials. So let's go to the setting page. Where it go? Settings.component.html. Again, same thing. As you can see, it's a very static form right now. It's a Bootstrap form right now. It's an input, email, password, question and answer, whatever you want to put. These are user preferences. So I'm just going to do a replace. That's it. That's see, it's a very static page, very similar to the other pages. That's all I'm doing. Okay, let me save this. Similar to other pages, setting.component.ts. I'm just going to do a replace here. Okay, perfect. Okay, so right now this is complaining because, again, as usual, these two methods are not defined yet, get user and update user. Let me go quickly to the backend service and define those methods as well. So get user, again, let's create a fake response, return that fake response. Update user, create a fake response and return that fake response. Save. That's it. That's pretty much it. Okay, so I think most of my pages right now are ready. Let's go quickly. It's a very small app, so as you can see, I worked on the dashboard. About us working, dashboard is working, footer is working, header is there, login is working, report is working, services. Okay, one last thing. So I'll go back to the authguard service in 1 minute. Settings is working, sign up is working. So now one last thing on this one. Let's work on our authguard service. One more thing, before I go to authguard service, I just want to quickly talk about it. Okay, so in your settings.component.html, as you can see, let's see if the settings is working or not. So it allows users to update their own setting. So here, as you can see, this is very static method, but you have to plan ahead. My plan is any database CRUD operation you are doing from the front end, it has to be secure at both the sides, from the front end side as well as the back end sides. But what happens sometimes, the front end user can, anybody can try to hack into it, and it goes to the server and try to make that update. So obviously you don't want anyone else to update your settings. So let me show you what I mean here. Okay, so for example, settings is the page where you keep your username, ID and password. I don't want anybody else to access that. So what happens, like sometimes, somebody can steal your token and try to do that. So the way you can do that, again, once you code the server side, it will make more sense. But let me show you quickly, very quickly, how the actual server code is going to look like. So when you do the actual server code, as you can see, everything is commented here. Login is not a very good method. See, so let's say update user, for example, update user. So when you go to the server side, I'm going to comment this out. I'm going to put the real method. Now, real method is the token. So this is remember when you sign in, as soon as you sign in, you get a JWT token. And you store that token to your local storage. So every time you make any database CRUD operation, you pass this token. See, I'm defining a token and getting the token from the local storage. I'm saving that token here to my HTTP option. And when I'm doing a real HTTP call to any server, like for example, this is my backend here, I pass this HTTP option. So long story short, token is what guarantees that nobody can hack into your database. So again, this is a JWT token. Once I cover the server side, you will understand how this token is coming and how this token is verified, but that will come on the server side. From the client side, all you need to understand that any database CRUD operation you are doing, you need to pass the token like this. Okay, any HTTP request, just pass the token. Okay, perfect. Now let's go back and work on our last part. That means securing our routes. So here, for example, if the user is not logged in, I do not want him to go to dashboard. Obviously, it's like somebody can hack in and, I just go and nothing stops me. If I go here and put a dashboard here or say about us or say settings, I can directly go to that page. but usually, you do not want your users to do that. So that's what I mean by securing your routes. So let's go quickly to that app.routing.module. You will understand, how I'm going to do that. But let's first go work on our auth service. So if you remember, there's another service I created, auth service. As you can see, it's pretty vanilla right now. Let me go back and undo all that. So this is the original code. Okay, all you need to do here, first you have to import the two can activate and router from your Angular router. Okay, and then I'm going to create a private variable on the constructor, call this router here. Next thing is I'm going to define a method called can activate, implements can activate, and let's define this can activate. What this can activate is going to do, it's just going to check your local storage and see get the item token. If the token is there, then that's fine. That means user is logged in. If token is not there, that means just like, throw that user back to the login page. That's all is going to do. So again, it's just a method to secure. Again, securing your app on the client side doesn't provide 100% proof, 100% guarantee that nobody can hack into that. But again, you do not want people to just play with your client system. So it's just like extra validation or extra security you are putting on the client side. Again, people can still hack in. They can put a fake token on your local storage and try to manipulate your app. But if you secure it on the server side, that means that will guarantee that your app is fully secure. Just doing it on the client side, it's a nice method. You should implement that. But still it doesn't guarantee that. Okay, so this is how how I'm going to secure my client side auth guards. Okay, so let's go work on the app routing.module here. So as you can see, I called this new service auth guard service and define this method can activate, which is checking the token. Now let's go to the app routing.module.ts. Okay, first I have to import auth guard from this auth guard service. I think service name is wrong, so it's auth guard service. Okay, perfect. Now let's import this auth guard service from the auth guard. Okay, next thing is all you need to do, whatever methods, whatever routes you want to secure, simply just go do that. And so first let me change this one, because I want by default user to go to login page. I do not want them to go to about us page. So let's go fix this as well. Okay, next thing is very simply the routes you want to secure. For example, I want to secure my dashboard page, sign up page, and settings page, and reports page. So all you need to do, just include the can activate and auth guard here. Actually, it's auth guard service. So first, let me just say can activate. So these are the 4 routes I want to secure: dashboard, about us, settings, and reports. Okay. Now say auth guard service. That's it. I think. Yeah, that's it. So that's pretty much it. I think like all you need to do is that's how you can secure your client side routes. Okay, so if the token is not there, for example, his user is not signed in and they try to go to your settings page, what is going to do is going to throw them back to the login page because user is not signed in. Okay, so I think this is pretty much it. That's all I need to do from the client side. All my code, like 99% from the client side is ready. It is working now. But once I designed my backend, I was showing you right now everything is fake API. That's why I said the code is still only 99% ready. So as soon as my backend is ready, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to get rid of this or comment this out and put the real API. That's all I'm going to do. So I think in next video I'm going to show you how to work on the server side, and as soon as that is ready, we'll maybe once I'm working on the server side, I will come back and start making changes here and see how these functions are working. But right now I think there's no error. There's one error. Let me fix this one. Okay, it doesn't exist. Okay, perfect. So let me fix all this error, and in next video, stay tuned. We are going to work on the server side. Thank you very much.